Hey everybody, welcome to the morning market briefing. It's Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. Hope you're doing well out there. Tom, how we feeling?
Feeling strong. It was a busy day yesterday, but I think a lot of opportunity, a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that it doesn't seem fun because the markets are bouncing around, but the boys are cooking with gas over here.
it's pretty fun when there's some opportunities of volatility. Obviously, we'd rather the volatility be in one direction and one direction only. That'd be up. So we would like that for clients, but in terms of actually being able to have a real cadence of opportunities presenting themselves, days like yesterday give you a great shot to do that.
You can't buy low, sell high unless you get a low
Got to
opportunity.
get some lows. And that's exactly what we saw yesterday. I mean, we saw stocks open down quite discernibly, and a lot of the liquidity crunch that we talked about yesterday on the call seemed to be at the forefront, but ultimately there were other buyers of the dip. As much as I'd like to give the boys here credit for just picking it up with their own bare hands, people were jumping in, and you saw some pretty extreme examples of that. URI, for instance, was down more than 3.5%, closed up for the day. Cyclicals were trading off kind of in that 3 to 4 range, and moving to where it's still closed down, but much higher than the day started.
Yeah, but it was just pure panic at the front end. But the thing is, there's a lot of selling, massive selling in Europe and in Asia, and that money's going somewhere. And it appears that that money went into treasuries and U.S. stocks towards the middle of yesterday because there was a ton of buying going on. And, South Korea was down another 12% overnight.
It's crazy.
And that money's going somewhere. And I don't think it's going to cash. I think it's going to less risky assets. And if you look at the standard deviation charts of, U.S. stocks versus foreign stocks versus treasuries, U.S. stocks and treasuries have a much lower standard deviation, meaning a less risky profile historically than many things, most of which are foreign stocks.
Yep.
And especially once you start getting into sort of the emerging markets, I mean, that's, super high standard
Good luck
deviation.
out there,
Yeah,
everybody.
it's boom or bust.
Yep.
And so people don't want bust right now. They're seeing bust everywhere. And so now it's time to get with the boys and go boom. A lot of people are saying.
Let's boom it up. You mentioned the movement on treasuries. What did we see specifically just kind of as you were watching through the day?
I mean, it was just a U shape. We saw a lot of pressure on treasuries towards the front half of the day, and we're net lower now than we were at the beginning of yesterday. So the 10-year is about 407. So it was a little of a boomerang where, the panic set in. Everyone's like, sell, sell, sell. But then it seemed overblown. And there's been a lot of news, and we'll get into all of the different assurances coming from the government. Scott Besant's been on a one-man publicity tour for the last 12 hours, which is just so exciting for me because if he's involved, we're doing it okay. We're doing all right. So
Besant's booming.
He's our. I mean, talk about serving your country. That guy's our number one warrior. He's out there just absolutely slitting throats.
He's a financial warfighter.
Yeah.
So Trump meeting with Besant, also meeting with Chris Wright, the energy secretary. Trump is making the rounds. What's interesting to me, I think, is just the intentionality behind Trump. I think a lot of times people think of him as a chaos candidate, and I think there's obviously some truth to that. But one thing that he always seems to come back home to is the financial impact of what is going on. He clearly cares greatly about that. And I think it's easy for everyday people, myself included, in a lot of regards, to roll their eyes about him talking about 401ks in the context of, an ICE operation. But he always comes home to financial markets. That always is top of mind for him. And the reality is, in our line of work, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Whether you like what he's doing or dislike it, whether you think all these things are related to your 401k balance or not, spoiler alert, not everything is. It's helpful to have someone in that position that is going to bring it back to that.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of the troika that sits underneath Donald Trump, you've got Rubio, who's got foreign affairs, you've got J.D. Vance, who's got domestic affairs, and then you've got Scott Bessent, who by no means, historically speaking, would you see the Secretary of the Treasury in the war room when a war breaks out at least not in my lifetime. But he was there, and he was there for a reason because, he's basically talking about the three-legged stool. He's the financial guru who's out there ready to rock, and he's ready to fight a war just as much as anybody, and has been, I would say as aggressively as anyone over the last year as Trump's been president. And you can see his fingerprints all over the stuff coming out in the last couple of days. I mean, he was on this morning talking about how we're just going to absolutely destroy Spain because they disallowed any fighters from leaving Spain to bomb Iran, and he basically was like, they don't pay anything to NATO, they stink, they're a third world economy, and we're just going to put a full on trade embargo on them.
Yeah.
So he's going to hit them where it hurts, which I guess is olive oil. I'm not really.
Yeah. What is
jamon? If you're looking for some jamon iberico,
Yeah, some high-end pig.
Yeah, charcuterie boards everywhere are going to be empty.
Yeah.
But no one's talking about that.
It's just going to be cheese.
Yeah.
We did get an announcement from Trump. I think we have the graphic here, Hicks, if you want to throw that bad boy up. But essentially making an announcement that, hey, we're going to make sure that we're protecting maritime trade, all caps maritime trade, even bringing military escorts to tankers if need be. So
the world's oldest profession.
It's pretty interesting to think that we're in this day and age, and the amount of times we have spent talking about railroads and now ships. I love it.
It's right in our wheelhouse. This morning Besson put out a statement along the same lines, which is, I would encourage everyone to look through the noise and see where we are going on the other side of this in terms of the crude markets. The crude markets are very well supplied. There are hundreds of millions of barrels on the waterway away from the Gulf. But more importantly, we have a series of announcements they're going to be making. He's like, and he stressed that, we got to be looking at China. He said they've probably been buying 90% of Iranian crude. That's obviously on hold right now. That's the play. If you think about the global chessboard, Venezuela was the opening move, and it was almost a misdirect. We took China and Iran out of Venezuela, and Russia obviously as well. That puts a little bit of pressure on them. The next move, you were looking over here, and now our bishop is shooting across the border to take your queen. That's taking down Iran.
Yeah.
And now we're securing the waterways. So, we basically have a fundamental foothold in the oil markets, which is a real problem for China. China imports basically two things: food and energy.
Yep.
And now, we've got them over a barrel with tariffs, and now we've got the oil supply as well. And we can decide, I'm assuming here in the next couple of days, because I don't know if you heard, but the Assembly of Experts got taken out yesterday. So
yes. That's tough.
That's tough
for the Assembly of
So
Experts.
I don't know. So I guess the Assembly of Intermediate Skill Levels are going to try and pick a new Ayatollah, and if that goes poorly, then the Assembly of Novices.
Yeah, we're gonna slowly work our way down the knowledge base of the Assembly.
So I'm not a huge fan of this whole operation, but if we can do it correctly and say eventually, when they get down the ladder enough, the guy's like, hey, I'm ready to cooperate and be in charge and do whatever you guys want to do, then I think that's a net positive, and then just kind of keep things relatively stable, a la Venezuela, and we can kind of move forward from there. But we'll see. But I was reading a tweet thread that was talking about the different types of planes that have been flying and what that indicates from a what Iran can do standpoint. And basically the first day was mostly B-1s, of which there are only 20, the most expensive stealth bombers on the planet. And they were basically there to take out the air defenses. The next day was more B-2s, which are faster. They're tactical fighter bombers, which would be, supersonic planes that can get in, get out, and theoretically avoid surface air missiles. But now apparently they're just rolling out B-52s, which is a 70-year-old airplane that's just a carpet bombing machine and has the radar visibility of like a school bus. Everybody can see it a mile away, and it can't avoid anything, which would indicate that they've been
pretty crippled.
Yeah, they've got no ability to avoid being bombed now, and we took out their Navy.
This time next week, we're going to be going GoldenEye slappers only.
Yeah.
We're just going to go
wrist rockets,
start
shooting them with BB guns.
Start punching people. Notably, we talk about the many forces at play trying to bring economic stability and even growth in some avenues. The Fed seems pretty content to just rest on their priors and hope for validation because of the war. I don't think we're going to see much action, do you?
I don't. I think it's interesting because you could argue that the Fed is actually being very independent of what Trump wants to do, independent of what probably should be done, and independent of critical thinking.
They are fiercely independent.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't understand is if the consensus is we're on the path to 2 cuts this year, why not just do them?
Yep.
That's my thinking is like and I've said this on the call before, if I was Kevin Warsh, the first thing I would do is cut 50 basis points and stop.
Yep.
And then we're good. Like, because if the theory is like the Fed's not going to cut rates, they will cut rates later, but they're going to push it off because like why?
Yeah.
If they think we're 50 basis points too high, cut the rates and let's move on.
Yeah.
Like it's just such a song and dance about how noble you can be and how you can stand in the face of this stuff. It's just do it. If it's the right thing to do, just do it. That's what, people it shocks me, but you got a bunch of dum-dums in there anyway, but it is what it is.
Tim Rouse continuing to bemoan the independence of the Fed. And he needs a new slant. I think we need.
He's broken.
He
weaseled his way so far into Jay Powell's let's call it pocket that now he can't get out. He can't. He's completely blinded by the inside of his pocket.
Yeah.
And
it's very dark.
Yeah, it's probably doesn't smell very good either. But it's just, come on, man. Let's find a new tack. Talk about being independent. Be an independent journalist, and not just a lapdog.
Circling back to the story we talked about on Monday with Blackstone, their employee bail-in. We've got more detail on that and how that's continuing to play out. But 25 senior leaders from across Blackstone have put in $150 million into their private credit fund. The firm put in $250 million. That's how they were able to meet that $3.8 billion redemption. I wonder how that goes. Are you essentially voluntold to chip in money? Because you sit here and you do the math on it. That's a bunch of cheese for a bunch of guys throwing in, and ladies.
Yeah, but like any kind, like it's one thing if you're a business owner, like a small business, and things get rough and you've got cash and you can infuse that into your business to stay afloat. It's another thing when you start about commingling funds where it's like, I've recommended an investment for you. It's gone south. You want your money back. And so I have to put my money in and buy that from you.
Yeah. I use this illustration, and I want to be abundantly clear because we do have our chief compliance officer in the room. Narwhal, we don't custody client portfolios. If a client has a portfolio with us, they own that account. We don't own it. We're not commingling it. We're not writing you a receipt and then putting the money in with everyone else. But for a moment, just put yourself in the client's shoes. If you had concerns about liquidity, and my answer was, hey, client, listen, it's really not a big deal because at the end of the day, if you need money out, me and Tom and Ben and Hicks, we're going to chip in some money and you can get your money back. That should not instill confidence in you as a client. To be clear, that is not how we're structured at all. But I don't think that would really inspire a lot of confidence.
Yeah, if we were like, hey, guess what? There's this lot that's empty and it's right by our house. We should all go in on this together. And then hypothetically it loses 20% of its value overnight and we've got to make you whole at where we bought it. You're not going to be thinking those guys are really savvy investors.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put more money with them again.
They're so nice.
Yeah.
They're so nice.
Yeah, they're taking a hickey for you. It's just a bad look all the way around. But, quick victory lap for the boys. Foreign stocks getting absolutely destroyed.
Yes.
Private credit getting absolutely destroyed. Things we talk about being the most overhyped, least likely places to succeed that everyone's been excited about the last 2 years. Both of those places. Yeah. So feels good. Feels right. The world is coming back to where it should be. It's almost like to win football games, you got to run the ball and play good defense, and not be, like doing practice where you learn how to kick a soccer ball because that builds character or something.
We did get some auto sales in. Ben prepared the notes this morning. He seems pretty optimistic about that and just kind of the read-through on the economy. But really, I think from this point, I mean, the story of the week we thought would be ISM on the manufacturing side. We will get ISM services today, but the story of the week is really the war and the economic resilience tied there too.
Yeah, and we got ADP jobs report this morning.
Yeah.
Didn't really move the needle. I mean, notably, mortgage applications were up 11% week over week, which should be no surprise to anyone. We saw a huge move in bonds.
Yep.
We were overbought. Now we're at fair value. My guess would be people saw that and took advantage and got locked in at some of the lowest rates, some sub 6 for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
But there's new stuff to talk about, and so that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. What are you watching today? I know we get I guess Broadcom earnings this afternoon.
Yeah, that'll be a big one just because they've gotten whacked like all the other AI companies that are continuously making just piles and piles of money. I'm interested to see just how this market holds up today. I mean, bonds are rallying. We've come down even since we started. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Munis have gotten hit the hardest, but I've been saying all year that the index seemed extraordinarily high for what I was actually seeing in real bonds, and so that's come back to earth a little bit. But still opportunities out there. The good news is we got a lot of cash because 3/1 is a big redemption day, and because it happened on a weekend, it took a couple days for all those bonds to turn to cash, and so we're ready to rock. And some of that money is going to go to equities, some of it's going to go to bonds, but that's why we have constant maturities. So we'll be busy today. Brian Westbury, one of our Mount Rushmore people we like to watch, he's giving a talk at the St. Regis at 11:15. So
nice.
I'm going to pop down to that. I think Ben's going to be down there as well.
Love it.
That'll be good.
Good stuff. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll get a report from Westbury tomorrow. You guys have a great day. Remember to check out the Jacob's Ladder Group, jacobladdergroup.org. There's a donate button up there. April 1st at 12:30, we will be hosting a lunch as well as hearing from Amy. Is it Amy Odell? Amy Odell, the founder and director of that group, and she's going to talk about their needs, their history, how they got there, what they're doing. Even if you just have a general passing interest, I think it's going to be really fascinating.
Yeah, and if you think, I think for us, the network effect is really the biggest thing, which is, hey, if you know somebody who's in this space, somebody who runs a foundation that, is looking to do pilot studies for autism research or, cerebral palsy research. I mean, that would be really helpful to make those introductions. If you have a thought as to who would be into that, we'd love to do some introductions as well. So,
should be fun. I'm excited about it. The podcast is up on our YouTube page as well as where the podcasts are, probably about, I guess, almost 2 weeks ago, but go check it out. It's definitely worth a listen. So you guys have a great day. Talk to you soon.